Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. This is our Lunch and Learn, our brown bag session. We're kind of restarting this after taking a break just before the Esri UC. Going to try and get back on our monthly schedule and also resume our quarterly user meetings. So our next user meeting, I think, tentatively, I'm looking at January for that. So we'll probably have one more Lunch and Learn before the user meeting. Just a couple of quick announcements. ArcGIS Online upgraded a few weeks ago at this point. If you notice anything strange happening with any of your maps or apps or your data, please get in touch with us at gis@hawaii.gov. We can take a look at it and determine if it was something related to the upgrade or not. At this point, it's too late for Esri to roll back the upgrade, but we can at least have them address it if it's some sort of bug or fix that they can do to the upgrade. The second thing is that probably this weekend, I'm going to be sending out our annual GIS user survey, so be on the lookout for that. Please don't delete it. It's a fairly long survey. It will probably take you a good 5 or 10 minutes to fill out. But please, if you have an opportunity, please fill it out. It helps us a lot with the feedback we get from it, not only on what we're doing, but really where your interests are, what kinds of users we have. So with that, that's all the announcements I have. With that, I'm going to introduce our speaker. Allan Vinluan is the solution engineer from Esri. He's going to be based in Honolulu. Right now, he's not in Honolulu till probably 2024 sometime. Allan is a state and local government solution engineer supporting Esri's Southern California region, as well as Hawaii and the Pacific territories. He focuses on the effective adoption and use of the ArcGIS platform to solve government business challenges. Prior to joining Esri, he worked with engineering and survey firms, pushing out the use of modern GIS workflows. When not around maps, he's a fan of being outdoors with family, home-cooked meals, and enjoys a good meme or two. So with that, let me go ahead and turn it over to Allan.
Allan Vinluan, solution engineer, been with Esri for 8 years now. Thank you for the intro, Arthur. So thank you for having me today and allowing me to crash your lunch hour here to kind of learn a little bit more about ArcGIS, Excel, and Teams. Now, these are products that are part of the whole Microsoft 365 Office suite. You know, we have your Excel, Power BI, Teams, SharePoint, and the Power Automate tool sets that we have. And then we also have a Power Apps that's coming in the near future here. But for today's brown bag, we're just going to do some brief exercises and high-level workflows of what you can do in Excel and also in Teams. So for those who have not used those, this will be a very good session to, just to see what the realm of possibilities are and what you can do with Excel and in Teams. But before we jump into Teams and Excel, I just wanted to quickly highlight some of these other applications that are available as part of the Microsoft 365 suite. The first one is Power BI, where you are able to analyze your geospatial data in the BI reports. It's nice because it ships out of the box, but you don't need to install any add-ins or anything. It's actually a button that you activate within Power BI. And some of the mapping capabilities just allow you to view the data in a completely different realm, and the visuals are all completely interactive. So for ArcGIS SharePoint, a lot of the folks that are using this as a method to share your data. The most popular feature here is a geotag feature. So it allows you to search for an item using that geotag of all the files that you are currently deployed in your SharePoint sites. Recently, they introduced the 2D and 3D geotagging of the files. That's always a really cool features. And then finally, we mentioned the use of the Power Automate. So some of you guys may be familiar with webhooks. So if there's you can deploy some of these automation tools. So for example, if there is an edit that is done on the data, you can get notifications for using the widgets that allow you to monitor all of the processes that's going on. Again, there's just so many different tools on this. We don't have time to go through every single one, but definitely worth exploring. And finally, today we're going to be talking about Excel and Teams, but we'll jump right into the example for this one. But again, so those that are not familiar with ArcGIS for Excel, there's a plugin that you directly install into your Excel. Directly in the Excel spreadsheet is you have the ability to access the maps in ArcGIS Online, where you can manipulate data and the map side by side. And you can use formulas. There's analytical tools that you can generate, and you can also publish this directly to ArcGIS Online, as I will be showing shortly. Okay, let's go ahead and jump right in. Just confirming that you guys can see. Zoom share. Okay. All right, let me move this over. So what we're looking at here is sample data from retail space. This is made up data, so this is just we can play around with data from Canada. It's typical in the sense that I have your name, city, address, information about the phone numbers and the postal code, and you also have another tab here is the salon information. Again, this is your typical Excel spreadsheet that you would encounter, right? But with the ArcGIS ArcGIS plugin, which you can find up here in the My Add-ins, once you have that installed, you'll be able to access this tab right here, which is ArcGIS.
I just want to interrupt real quick.
Sure.
Sorry. So because everybody, or most everybody online is part of the state GIS users distribution lists in Outlook, you may have already noticed that you have that ArcGIS add-in already installed. That's something that ETS had to do sort of system-wide.
Awesome.
So you should already have seen that, and some of you may have already played with that.
Perfect.
Sorry.
All right. Thanks, Sergeant. Yeah, that's good news. So in case you were looking for where that is, it would be here where you manage your add-ins. And then, yeah, it sounds like you guys already have access to this. But to those that don't have, haven't seen this before, when you click on that ArcGIS tab up there, you have the option to show map. But right now we are, expand this a little bit more. See, this is similar to the ArcGIS. Actually, it's the exact same web map that you find in ArcGIS Online. But right now, since I am not signed in, notice how some of these capabilities are currently grayed out. We have be able to collapse your items. This is your layer list where you manage all of your content that you're going to be bringing in from Excel. If you wanted to play around with the different base maps that are available for you, this is where you would find it. And also, if your organization has your own custom base maps, this is also where you would be able to access it. Search function right now is currently grayed out because we are not signed in. The analysis tools, and also later on, as we will see, which allows you to share your content to ArcGIS Online. And then finally, the settings option is here, where I'm going to be signing in. More time. Okay, now that I am signed in, as you can see, those other options that were previously not available are now available. So the first thing I'm going to do, we're going to do the geocoding workflow, because we want to get these points that we've generated here from Excel directly into the ArcGIS Online map, right? So from here, we select layers, we select the Excel, But you notice that there's another option here where you can add content from your My Content in ArcGIS Online. So if you wanted to bring some of that data into this particular map. But for this example, we're going to look at the Excel spreadsheet that we're currently working with. So we're going to click on that. We're going to select the new customers. The location type is we're going to select address, since we have the address fields available for us here. And now here's got to be careful about this part. This is we're going to select which geocoder that you're going to be using. But for our example, we're going to be using the ArcGIS World Geocoding Service. And be careful because, again, we are in Canada right now. We're going to select Canada. And in order to really enhance the way that it's going to be geocoded, you can select multiple columns so that you can specify specific items in your content to match it with the city, you have your province, and then the postal code. And we're going to go ahead and add to the map. Now, when I click on this add to map, this is going to run a geocoding service through the World Geocoding Service, as you can imagine. And as many of you are probably familiar, this is going to consume credits. Okay. These are my points that I have added so that we can manipulate. Let's take a look at it. As you can see, the points were geocoded directly in Excel. If I click on one of these points, same exact information that I had on the left side are now available for you in the pop-up. So what more can we do with this? You select your layer list, and then we select this button up here, which is your layer options. You have much more flexibility as far as how you can display your data. Right now, we're just showing points. We can select a heat map. So if that's something that you're looking for, it's already pre-built there. Maybe I don't like my base map. Let's go with something dark gray. And yep, so there it is. This is just like a basic example of the heat map. But notice that these are options that you have open up for you depending on what data that you have. If we select back to the location single symbol, notice how these select features opens up. We have the clustering option and the pop-ups, and then also the labels. Let's not forget about the salon information that we had here earlier. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to add another layer from our Excel spreadsheet. Let's go back to our layer list. This time we're going to select this. I know a lot of you guys know your Excel shortcuts. I know a few. Go. And we're going to select styling right now. Go back to that one. There we go. Go with the address again. World Geocoding, Canada. Go ahead and add to the map. Now we have our salon information added to the map, but let's turn this one off real quick since it's a bit of so that we know exactly where we're looking at. There's the salon information. But this time maybe we want to draw this out using the revenue options that we have. So you have the option to either draw it by the column size or the column color. Maybe let's do, oops. Notice how you have to select the salon on this one, and that's the one that we're going to be playing around with the symbology. So if you wanted to display it by the revenue option, you can see how the circles are bigger than the other ones. And then if you want to further play around with those symbols, so we have a single symbol, you click up here. It's the color, revenue. Style symbols, again, is the other options that you have to, depending on what you want to display. and how you want it to display is where it is at. Let's turn it off. And then for the customer information, let's see what we can do. Let's turn off the salon. This one showing. If we wanted to dive in a little bit deeper into the styling of the information for the salon, I'm sorry, that one. It's there. Customers. If we wanted to symbolize it by language, this is where it shows up by showing the unique values, their style options. Again, there's like the English, French speakers, if that's something that you are wanting to look for. Let's go back there. Now, if you are wanting to highlight specifics directly from the map, some wider, you can draw it out like if you wanted to identify which ones are these guys, you can select this filter sheet so you know exactly which ones you're looking at directly in the map. And if you wanted to export these specific ones, filter sheet, and then if you export, notice that it's going to create a new table for you within Excel, so that you can do whatever you need to do with these additional ones. So this is one example that we wanted to show. We're going to jump on to the next example. Just yesterday.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Before you jump on, there was a question in the chat about can you add local layers from your computer that aren't in ArcGIS Online? So it's like a shape file.
Sure. For right now, you are not able to add local layers from your ArcGIS Online because the layers that you can add are restricted to either items in the Excel spreadsheet or items that may have been published already to ArcGIS Online. So the workaround for that is you would have to publish those local items to ArcGIS Online first and then reference those items to bring them into this Excel map here. So that's a good question though, because I see where that would be, but that would be a more appropriate workflow if you were already doing desktop workflows where you want to use the localized database. Again, this is just kind of a smaller version of the map viewer, but it's all done within the Excel, because Excel capabilities is what we're highlighting here.
And I noticed that you're not logged on. So in order for you to access your ArcGIS Online account, to add layers from ArcGIS Online, you have to sign in first.
Yep, I actually am logged in here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That was when it was grayed out, but then that was one of the very first steps that I did was signed on right here. Oh, I'm wearing the same shirt.
No, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the top right of your Excel spreadsheet.
Gotcha. Yep. That must be the other spreadsheet that we're going to jump to. Any other questions for right now?
Just a question about credits, but I'm going to answer.
Okay. Let us jump into the next Excel spreadsheet. This next example, we're going to take a look at an alternate way to visualize our data using an ArcGIS Online resource. So what we have here is liquor license information. For someone that probably doesn't have a lot of GIS use or experience, this might be a typical spreadsheet that people would work with. This is liquor licenses in the county of Hawaii. And where I wanted to bring your attention to is this business zip code and also the business addresses. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and enable ArcGIS for Excel again. I'm not signed in yet, so I'm going to go ahead and sign in. Signing in so that I can gain access to the ArcGIS Online resources. From here, we select add data from Excel. But remember earlier how we used the address as a method to geocode, and so that they can get plotted into the map. But this time we're going to use geographic data. Specifically, we are going to be using the United States zip code boundaries. We're going to select the USA zip codes from this layer, zip code field, and finally, we're going to match it to our business zip code layer. Okay, so from here, we didn't have to use the geocoding method. Instead, we used that business zip code where we matched it to an online source in order to be able to show this on the map. From here on, you can go ahead and do our usual symbology. We wanted to lighten this up a little bit more, or if you wanted to choose like a more different color, we can add our labels by clicking on the label tab, enable the label, and then let's choose the zip code. From here, you can go ahead and publish this to ArcGIS online, make edits to your existing data, which will reflect here in the map. But we're going to dive into another example where we can enrich. But for this example, we just quickly wanted to show an alternate way to view your data without using address as a geocoding method. But what does that mean? By doing it this method, we didn't have to use credits in ArcGIS online, despite being able to project it on this map that we have here. Okay, so let's take a look at our third example here. So in this spreadsheet, we're going to take a look at some of the additional capabilities within Excel, including the enriching and also some of the doing the buffer analysis. So within Excel, to those that are familiar about functions, there are a limited set of ArcGIS-based functions. So let's take a look at those. You have the ability to enrich, which was what we're going to be looking at, find routes, get address, if you wanted to get the geometries, XY location. So these are the functions specific to ArcGIS, but I just wanted to quickly call those out. But what we're going to be using is the ArcGIS function builder. Now, notice I am already signed in order to access these additional functions, specifically the geo-enrichment function. We'll click on it. We're going to enrich by address. So what does this do? Basically, we're going to be taking address available in ArcGIS Online's Living Atlas demographic information, and then we're going to plug it in to our data set here for the spreadsheet that we have here. Now, before we bring in some of the additional data here, let's try to paint a picture of what we're trying to accomplish here. So the spreadsheet here is the libraries across Oahu, right? And say we're participating or we're leading a community-based project where we're trying to find the kapuna around these specific libraries, but we don't have that information with the limited spreadsheet that we have. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and build that function. Functions get enriched by address. Click here. We're going to use this address right there. Confirm selection. The distance, what we're going to use is 0.5. The unit is going to be miles. And the travel mode is going to be walking distance. So we're going to select walking. But notice that you have the driving and also the trucking options. So with walking. And then this is where we look for the specific variables that we're going to be needing. Notice how there's a bunch available, whether it's income, household, education, retail demand, policy, and crime information. But the one that we're going to be using for this project is the at-risk. And we're going to select the popular variables. And it's going to be the 2023 seniors age 65 and up. And click update. You can add additional demographic information based on that list that we saw. But for this example, we're only going to use one. We'll leave the rest in the default settings and go ahead and hit update. Okay, there's the population that we have around the Hawaii State Library. There's 27, a little over 2,700 elderly. Going to go ahead and hit the header so that we know what we're looking at. And we are going to go ahead and use this for the same function for the rest of the libraries in the island of Oahu. Okay, now we have something that we can work with. We have the address, we have the targeted information that we needed. And we're going to go ahead and go back to our map for the show map option. Select out of this one. Okay, those are the target information that we need. And then earlier we did the address, then we did the second example, we did the geographic data, but this time we're going to go ahead and go back to the address. Confirm that we are using a ArcGIS World Geocoder in the United States. And the field that we're geocoding is the address, and so we're going to go ahead and add this to the map. All right. Before I forget, there is a method for those, if you wanted a little bit more flexibility of where this, because you can scoot it around, right? But you can actually drag and drop this, the map. So if you're working with 2 monitors, if you need more space to work on this, you can certainly drag this page around, but for now, we'll leave it here. So, okay, now that it's been geocoded, we'll click on one of the pop-ups, same exact information that we had, but now we have the senior population of it over the age of 65 at these libraries. We can begin symbolizing it. Select by drawing column, and we're going to select the color. So you have some flexibility to show basically the larger circles have the more population, senior citizen population throughout the islands, and there's the smaller ones. So we're going to go ahead. Yeah, you have that flexibility to, I guess a heat map doesn't really make sense in this scenario, but the counts and amounts, the colors and the size, we are going to go back to the location for single symbol, because what we're going to do next is we're going to run an analysis here under this option right here. You have 3 options here where you can perform measurements, you can create a buffer of the drive time area, which is what we're going to be doing, or you can create infographics cards directly in the Excel spreadsheet. For this example, we are going to go ahead and choose our input for the drive time area for the libraries. You have the option to create a ring buffer, driving time, walking time. But let's go ahead and for this example, we're going to choose the walking time of, we're going to choose the walking distance of 0.5. And then we're going to choose miles. You can select either walking away from or walking towards the library. So we are going to choose walking away from. So half mile walk. Go ahead and run the analysis. Should take a moment. Okay, it looks like it finished. Notice in our layers, we had our original libraries layer, and now that we have the halftime walk. Zoom in a little bit to take a look at it. As you can see here, this is the distance in the half-mile walk that would be coming from the library. So if the program calls for maybe you're trying to find out what people are willing to walk, or if you have that information, something like this would come in really handy. And we did it for all of the libraries as well. So from here on, we can go ahead and publish this to ArcGIS Online, where if you wanted to share this in another application such as Experience Builder, or if you have a hub site with an initiative that you needed this critical info, or you can share it in a story map. By sharing it to ArcGIS Online, it becomes an item in your My Content, so that you have that info directly to share along with your map and also the information that we have here in this Excel spreadsheet. It's all going to be available in ArcGIS Online. So in summary, what did we do here? We enriched our data by pulling in the demographic information. By doing that, we gained critical information that we did not have before in order to do this study. And by geocoding this address, we allowed us to use the analysis tool, which is the drive time. Basically, it allowed us to see like a map from a different perspective from just looking at the Excel spreadsheet. And finally, the next step would be to publish this to ArcGIS Online, right? Like I mentioned, where you can use this in all those other applications. So we are going to go ahead and jump back to the slides for some additional information. Okay, some quick considerations for ArcGIS for Excel. We kind of went over this, but do I need the ArcGIS subscription for ArcGIS for Excel? No, you can use it locally without a login, but like I showed earlier, in order to take advantage of the full features, you will need to be signed in. Again, the question about like the credits, some functionalities it does consume credits, such as geocoding, and also the storage credits is also something to keep in mind. So does all geocoding consume credits? Again, just when you're using the ArcGIS World Geocoding service, that will consume credits. But if you are using your in-house locator service, that will also work. Can you use ArcGIS for Excel on Mac OS? Yes, there is an Excel add-in. You can use it directly for our Mac users. And my organization has a geocoder registered with ArcGIS. Can I use ArcGIS for the Excel? Yes, you can. This is where you just got to find the drop down and the location and the drop arrow. And if I use ArcGIS for Excel to make a map in Excel, what happens when I send the worksheet to my colleagues? Will I see the map? Depending on what type of connection that your colleague has, if they have ArcGIS for Excel installed as well, they'll be able to see the same exact map that you've created. So ArcGIS for Teams, they're gonna.
But they'll also need to belong to whatever group you're sharing with, right?
Depending on the specific layer sharing that's being used on, if you're pulling in data from ArcGIS Online that belongs to a specific group, that one you will not be able to see in the Excel spreadsheet that you're opening up. But if it's just local, pulling in from the spreadsheet itself, then that will display as well. That kind of.
Are you sharing it to, I'm sorry, I might have missed the part where you said that you sharing it to a group.
Yep. So if you share an item, so let's take out Excel in the first place. If there's an item that's shared to a group and you have access to that group, but your colleague does not have access to that group, they're not going to be able to access that single item. Is that kind of, yep.
Yeah, I must have missed the part where we're talking about how to share the,
yep.
the result.
Okay. So we are going to pivot over to ArcGIS for Teams. It's probably the most, not basic, but one of the most tools that you can use in Teams. It's because all it does is really you're just sharing maps and content that you have directly within Teams. It allows you to collaborate, if you have groups that or their Teams chats that you can access your ArcGIS Online content directly in Teams. So we're going to take a look at this one. share. Okay, it's confirming that everybody can access Teams. So many of you guys are probably already using Teams. But what Teams does is you can pull in your items directly from your ArcGIS online organization. See this tab right here? You'll have your chat options, the files that you use. You'll have a viewer. So maybe there's items that you want to view just directly within Teams. You have to first sign in. You can either sign in your enterprise account or your ArcGIS. So in our case, we're going to sign in ArcGIS Online. Signing in right now. Okay. Sorry about that. Thank you. So within essentially all we're doing here is once you have this little option here for ArcGIS, you have to mention ArcGIS. And then once you mention the ArcGIS, that basically it connects you to your My Content page. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to be talking to a colleague of ours, Gretchen. Some of you guys might know her. ArcGIS apps. So what we have the option here is we are given the option to search your content. And because I am already signed in, you will see some of your content, your organization, your groups, and you can pull in content directly into your chat and share that directly with your colleagues. So for this example, I'm just going to choose one that's publicly available, the items that are shared with everyone, items like this. And when I hit post, this is going to go directly to Gretchen for her to view. Say hello, Gretchen. Check out the map above. Hello. Okay, so what Gretchen did, because she does also have ArcGIS for Teams, she sent me a map. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open it up. But when I open it up, it opens it directly within Teams in this viewer. So similarly, this is kind of the viewer that you would find in ArcGIS Online. You have the options for changing your base maps, your tables. It's fully interactive. Anything that gets configured in this map that you built in ArcGIS Online will be completely be accessible directly within Teams. And if you want, you can open it directly in browser. So again, this is just like a nice method of being able to share items quickly and being directly linked to your My Content, and then just pulling them directly to Teams, and also a method for others to share items with you directly within your Teams chat windows as well. So the collaboration is there. So with that, I'm going to go back to the screen share. Share. New share. Okay, so what are some considerations and some common questions that we get about Teams? System requirements for ArcGIS Teams. So you can use ArcGIS Teams wherever you have Microsoft Teams. It's simple as that, and you have to get in touch with your IT administrators. But it sounds like, Arthur, is this something that needs to be configured? Or
I think they already have access to it. If they go to the apps and search for ArcGIS, I wasn't enabled especially, but I found it. I was able to.
Oh, really?
Okay.
I wasn't sure that they had enabled that.
Yep. Okay.
You think ETS might have enabled that?
I'm not sure. They were looking into it, so
Oh.
maybe they did.
SharePoint, I don't think we have.
Oh, it was sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Teams, I was just able to go to the apps icon on the left and search for ArcGIS.
Yep.
It came up.
Yeah, that's right. It was SharePoint that they were not sure about.
So it sounds like you guys have access to ArcGIS for Teams already. Again, let's kind of go into the next question is how do you get the ArcGIS for Teams? Basically, you just download it directly from the Microsoft app, and then the option will show up in your Teams option. Is ArcGIS for Teams compatible with mobile devices? Yes, it is, but with some limitations. The development team there's a lot of cool functionalities that they are exploring for Teams and ArcGIS. For example, I know that AI is always kind of like a nice popular buzzword these days. So they are exploring integrating AI in Teams, not particularly ChatGPT, but other tools that it's Microsoft proprietary that can be integrated directly with Teams. So keep an eye out. So right now we're kind of, it's not feature rich as some of the other applications, but there are cool things right around the corner. So what are the ArcGIS privileges that are required to use ArcGIS Teams? This basically just says that, you got to be signed into your account. And then the anonymous users who are not signed into an ArcGIS account can use ArcGIS Teams to find new and public content. It's similarly how you would access ArcGIS online, but if you are not signed in, you can still see a lot of the public content. And those are things that you can still share in between your two groups that are collaborating in the chat. So the privileges are also determined by the ArcGIS account and the user type role settings. Can I use ArcGIS Teams for ArcGIS Enterprise? Yes, ArcGIS Teams supports both ArcGIS Online and Enterprise accounts. And I kind of mentioned this earlier already, but what is planned for ArcGIS Teams? Again, I mentioned the kind of like the not ChatGPT, but the AI functionalities. There is a very active, some of you may know it as the GeoNet community or the Esri communities page, where our developers are constantly monitoring the chatter about what is being introduced or some of the maybe some pain points and some of the features that users are asking for. I recommend checking out this site as well, so that our developers are really active in responding to our users, especially towards like feedback that they collect. So if you want to see a new feature get introduced in Teams, go to the Esri communities page, post on there, and most likely their developers would respond to you. With that, I'm going to go any questions about Teams. And again, we ran into some technical issues with the Excel spreadsheet. I think, Arthur, what I'll do is I'll do a recording. Is that something that we could send out to the group, or how we can? I'll re-record it and then post the way. I don't know if it was a signal, but I'll fix it and then I'll send it to everybody because it works. I promise you.
I send a link to the YouTube recording. I can send them a link to your.
Yeah, that works. We could do that. Yeah, we'll fix it. I haven't been monitoring the chat. Was there any other questions that we have?
Not related to Teams. I did have a question or a comment.
Yep.
Besides chat, I was also able to add it in a team. So, if you're working in a team on a particular project or something that needs a map, you can go into that team, create I don't know exactly what I did, but I created a tab up at the top that actually linked to that.
Yep. So not just in chat, but that's also on the teams that you're collaborating with. Same exact process though. You're just adding that content to that team versus you're adding it to a chat. But it's the same thing that you're looking at, whether it's like a dashboard you're looking at or a web map, but it's similarly functions in that regards.
And the people on that team that would need to see it need to have that ArcGIS Online account also and be part of that group, unless it's being shared publicly.
Correct. So exactly the way that you would see the limitations in ArcGIS Online, whether it's a public content, whether it's the web map that needs to be shared with everyone, or if it's the data layers itself that also needs to be shared with everyone or within a group. That's how it's going to reflect directly in the teams.
Okay, any other questions? If not, thank you, Alan.
Okay.
For presenting. Thank you, everybody, for
Yeah.
joining us today. I do have a quick poll I'm going to put up. If you have a couple minutes to go ahead and answer. It's just related to what other training topics or what other brown bags you might have an interest in.